Commissioner Sarah heard about a lot of things that are going on in the county, in particular down in Port Salerno. So it was a wonderful chat. I hope you all enjoyed it and were able to glean some good information from it as well. In the meantime, I want to once again thank Indiantown Marine Center and Indiantown Marina for their sponsorship. Uh, it's hurricane season, folks, and I keep warning everybody, and I will throughout the hurricane season. I'll sound like a broken record, but make sure you get your hurricane reservations because once a storm is named, you will not likely find a place in this county. This way, you'll have peace of mind to know that you have a safe place to keep your boats. And between those two marinas, all sizes can be taken in. Indiantown Marine Center's newly constructed 38-acre marine service and storage facility offering dockage, workspace, and long-term storage. Efficient and user-friendly location for servicing and storing vessels while still maintaining cleanliness, environmental quality, and safety. 250 and 100-ton lift capacity, 20 miles inland hurricane protection, 2,800 linear feet of dock space, foreign trade zone. Bring your vessel and your own contractor. Three-phase, single-phase shore power. Give them a call at 597-0800, 597-0800, or look them up, IndiantownMarineCenterFL.com. So on the phone with me today right now, I have John Columbus. He is a Republican running for U.S. Senate to represent Florida. John was born on December 22nd, 1983 in Old Winter Garden Hospital that was torn down years ago. He was brought to his Orlando home on Christmas Eve, where he still is with his parents to this day. My father, Gene Columbus, had a 38-year career as an executive with Disney, then went on to be the executive director of the Orlando Rep, now the Orlando Family Stage, for 11 years. We both now are co-owners of his LLC, the Gene Columbus Group. His mother, Becky Columbus, was a small business owner for over 40 years. With parents who were successful and well-respected leaders in their community, they raised him in a God-fearing Christian household and continued to teach him about how to be a strong Republican. As a student, John made good grades and excelled in visual arts, joining the Visual and Performing Arts Magnet program at Dr. Phillips High School. His senior year was when he first ventured into politics, being elected senior class president for the class of 2002. After graduating high school, John attended NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, where he obtained a BFA in theater in 2006. In 2007, he joined the first national tour of Monty Python's Spamalot, touring North America for 2.5 years. And after the tour, he spent some time in Hollywood before returning home to Florida in 2012. At the age of 28, he was arrested for talking too loud about cannabis in a bar and was charged with trumped-up charges that were later dropped. This was his introduction to the criminal justice system, and believes law enforcement needs our support as they put their lives on the line each and every day. John is still an active cannabis user and a supporter of Amendment 3 that will be on the ballot in November. He works for Walt Disney World from 2013 to 2015 and also picked up work at SeaWorld and Universal Studios. In 2015, he began working for Disney Cruise Line, an eye-opening experience. He began to get invested in politics in 2020 when his entire industry shut down and the world sat by and watched the politicians flounder in response. For instance, in early 2021, his mind was blown when conspiracy theorists took control of the political narrative, bolstered by news groups and politicians alike. By 2022, a spark of an idea came to light in his mind's eye, a way for him to have needed conversation with fellow citizens while investing in a change in his career path. He began writing a book, a historical, political, science fiction autobiography, where he asked without judgment how much fiction the electorate wants in their politicians. This sort of behavior is not new. In fact, it can be cited throughout history. But what he was witnessing was a dangerous narrative that threatened the fabric of our great nation. As a lifelong entertainer, he believes he can give the people the entertainment they crave in a safe and respectful way while standing up for the rule of law, the Constitution, and the country that he loves. At present, he's still working actor at Disney's Animal Kingdom, performing as a sub in the role of Gil in Finding Nemo, The Big Blue World and Beyond. He is about to publish the second volume of My Great American Novel, where he will reinforce his political stance to make America read again, encouraging people to critically think about the stories politicians tell them. Oh, that's good. If I get elected, I swear to Almighty God to on high to put in the needed work and represent every Floridian each and every day, says John. He believes we need to
Thank you so much
replace
for reading that.
Oh, yes, I got one more sentence. You believe we need to replace stubborn and stale millionaires with rising millennials. Our country needs more people from his generation to replace the oldest Senate in U.S. history. So, John, welcome, welcome. I do appreciate it's a long bio, but it gives people a really good introduction to who you are.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show because we want to get to know you. First of all, the bio said a lot, but tell us, really what made you say I'm going to run for U.S. Senate, not county commission, not city commission, not state rep. You're running for U.S. senator.
Um, my first thought was go big, then go home. And this is a way for me to introduce myself to everybody. And this probably won't be my last time venturing into the political arena. So I figure might as well say hello, make an introduction, and see how this goes. I'm really excited for it. It's going to be a fun election year, and I'm here to celebrate the process and learning about the system. And this is my very first time officially running for something, and I've already learned a tremendous amount from where I was 2 years ago to where I am now. So
So
it's a fun experience, and I think everybody should give it a try.
Oh, I absolutely encourage that 100%. And I also respect it because it's a really big undertaking, no matter what office you're running for, to put yourself out there in the public.
Absolutely.
And, how do you plan to leverage this experience to affect change in the U.S. Senate should you be elected?
Well, right now we have entrenched politicians on both sides in a polarized stalemate. And what I'm looking for in Washington is bipartisanship, because right now it's become teams that are constantly trying to own each other, and it's constantly trying to make sure the other team doesn't win. And it feels like a football game. And I love football, I love sports, but as a visual artist myself, I try to think about the 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 three-legged stool, which works so well in many things. So like
Right.
in Christianity, we have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We have in the United States, we have the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. We have three separate but equal branches that help support our nation. Now, what we're missing in Congress, I'm not saying we need another party. I'm just saying we need to identify what shade of color we are. How red am I? How blue am I? Is there a way to add a little bit of yellow? Is there a way to add a little bit of green? Depending on the legislation, we can start to identify each other as and painting Rembrandts instead of just these binary yes, no, I'm on one side or another side, and there's no compromise in between. Because what we need is more mutual concessions to get things done for the people of the United States. Because right now, what we can see is the most least productive Congress in history, and right now, I feel that's not serving the American people. The taxpayers are paying politicians to go up there and get work done. And I think there should be work requirements for the people who don't want to do anything up in Washington.
Oh, that'd be great work requirements.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Are you, ask you here with the presidential race, are you a Trump supporter?
I am not taking sides for the president. I'm not here to talk about what president the voters should decide on. That's up for them to decide. I'm here just to talk about me versus Rick Scott, because Rick Scott, his record speaks for itself. I believe that the man, he's served his country for many, many years, and as a 71-year-old senior citizen junior senator, I think it's time for him to come home to Florida and retire and give millennials a chance to stand up and speak their voice up in Washington.
What specific changes would you propose to bring to the Republican Party in the U.S. Senate, and how would you plan to achieve those changes?
What I believe a voice that is missing, especially from Floridians, because there's a lot of Floridians out there who care and love their environment, and this beautiful peninsula we live on with the barrier reefs and the beaches and the wildlife. We need more conservation efforts to make sure that our peninsula is protected. And if I can help the Republican Party become more conservation oriented, because you can't have conservation without the word conservative. And I feel like there's a lot of Republicans out there who are a little liberal with the way they treat the environment, and words have meaning for a reason.
Well, I think this is wonderful. As you said, you're a millennial getting involved with politics, and this really is the next generation to, control the country and to help direct the country to continue to be successful here in the future. Um, what are the biggest differences? You touched on it. You want to be different from Rick Scott. What are the biggest differences between yourself and what Rick Scott brings?
For instance, as we saw yesterday, Biden signed a executive order to close the border after 2,500 weekly immigrants cross illegally or cross legally, and this could have been solved in February. So we've had 4 months because Rick Scott voted no, because Rick Scott wanted the bill to say close instead of secure. He just said no to passing a border security bill, which has finally been put out there. Biden signed it. It's going to make sure that there's less crossing, right? Why did we have to wait 4 months to get get this to happen? It's because Congress was in the stalemate. It was politics became more important than serving the American people. It made the nation more dangerous, and I feel that party politics is a dangerous way uh, to lead a country. George Washington, he warned against the what could happen if party politics led the way. The contentiousness can infuriate people and lead to riots and insurrections. Like our founding father warned that that is something that we should be aware of and aware of, be very aware of. So why are we trying to polarize ourselves even more just to get a political win over the other guy? We have to remember we're all on the same team, and we don't want to have death by suicide, if you will, because that Lincoln warned about that, and we should be very cautious about doing each other in for the sake of getting a political win over somebody.
I like your message, but you're one of 100 senators when you're in there. How are you going to be able to, bring partisanship or bipartisanship to the Senate?
I believe from my theater experience, I believe empathy, we need more empathy. And uh, that's what theater has taught me is you look at a bunch of characters on stage and you don't always agree with every character you look at. But at the end of the day, you hear the stories, you listen to the situations that they're put in and their circumstances and their points of view. And you form opinions and you are able to relate, you're able to judge, but at the end of the day, you learn. And it's about listening. And we need more people to listen. And it's become a soapbox for people who just are long-winded and have no interest in taking into account anybody else's point of view. So how do we bring people together? Can we get Democrats and Republicans to cross party lines to have meaningful, good faith conversations? And as a theater professional, I'm fully aware that you can have a scene of two opposing characters that can come together and form an agreement. And like I said, it's all about mutual concessions, and it's for the American people, and it's about serving the people, not serving yourself.
What types of ideas do you have? You mentioned the border here, and it needs to be closed, and finally is happening after 4 years.
Months, or years,
Yeah,
yeah,
after
but
4 years of being open.
yeah.
What about there's so many issues with that. There's human trafficking. There's fentanyl, the opioid crisis. What are some of your ideas to help curb
Well,
the tremendous amount of
I applaud Governor DeSantis and the core legislation that he passed about a month ago, back in April, and he it's about deterring people from bringing fentanyl, and it's uh, it was I forget the name of the legislation, the full acronym,
Hmm.
but it was about punishing people who expose law enforcement to fentanyl. So we need stricter punishments for people who bring these dangerous drugs and who traffic in these dangerous drugs. And what was it in Louisiana for? I hear that they're now castrating people for certain crimes. And is that an Eighth Amendment issue, or is it justified? So there are a lot of different things that we could uh, look at and weigh and see if those are deterrents, and if the crime rate drops because of these law enforcement protecting law enforcement from these dangerous drugs and protecting our families from dangerous criminals. How do we deter it? Because that's the only way. Um, if you let people just get away with these things, it's going to keep happening. But also, it's about protecting the rights of the citizens. We need to protect everybody, uh, and making sure that every single amendment in the Constitution is protected. This is also why I'm here, is to protect these 27 amendments and all the articles, is to make sure we follow the Constitution to the letter and protect and swear our oath to this document, because this is what we need to focus on, instead of the bits and pieces of this document that are more important than others. That's what I feel is happening right now. Is some people will take one piece of this writing and they will run with it, and they'll forget about some of the other things that are equally as important. So I know I'm all over the place right now, but it's about taking a comprehensive view at what our country is based on and what we are trying to accomplish at the end of the day, which is to protect and defend the Constitution and also to protect our citizens.
Did you agree with the reversal of Roe v. Wade?
Right now, I find it very interesting because this is going to be a learning experience for everyone across the country. In Florida, we are able to, as citizens, to vote on if the current state legislation of 6 weeks is going to stay or not. So Florida, we have a say, and it gives the states, the people in each state, a chance. Well, at least Florida, not every state, but Florida, we have a chance to reverse the 6 weeks limitation on abortion, because just what was it? Less than a little more than a month ago, it was at 15 weeks, and a couple of years
Right.
ago, it was at 24 weeks. And now we get to decide yes or no. And if elected, I will take a serious look at the data and see what do the people of Florida want. And I'm here to represent them. It's not necessarily about what my personal beliefs are, because at the end of the day, I'm here to serve Floridians.
You are, but undoubtedly personal opinions and feelings, especially about something as controversial as Roe v. Wade,
Yeah.
certainly would weigh into what side you would fall in. Um, it's easy to say I don't know how you're going to be able to, if you take a poll of what people think, how
But
you're
that's
going
what
to.
is happening on November 5th, is the Supreme Court, Florida
Yes.
Supreme Court has said, this is where it is now. We're at 6 weeks. Do you want to keep 6 weeks? Let us know. Personally, I'm a 40-year-old heterosexual male, and I lack perspective on what a woman goes through in order when they are faced with this life-changing decision. Um, I I am pro-life, but I'm also not anti-choice, because there are medical procedures and healthcare out there that protect women, that there are so many complicated issues when it comes to a pregnancy that it's hard to just label it all as black and white. So, in this spectrum of things that could happen, how do we write a black and white law, a definite thing that says yes or no? Is there any exceptions for rape, incest, or the health of the mother or the baby? Like, I feel like so many people just take it as uh, that binary choice of yay or nay, and they aren't considering all of the factors. And like I said, as a male who will never have to go through the experience of getting pregnant, it's hard for me or any of my other fellow American male citizens to
I don't
comprehend.
know any male that has been pregnant, so.
Right, but we vote on it and we have opinions on it. And I've had experiences on my own. Like I had a story where I was involved with someone and they they told me they were pregnant and they said, I need you to pay me $400 so that I can get an abortion. And what I told her was, well, you should keep it. And turns out she wasn't pregnant. Turns out she was just trying to extort me for $400. And so how do we
Hillside.
stop the abuses, but also how do we protect the people at the same time? It's a complicated issue, and I'm not afraid to say that there's perspective on there that I'm not qualified just from my gender to answer. But we do have a solution. The greatest poll in November, when you get out there and vote, tell the American people how you feel and
That is
what
happening
you
here
should
in
do.
Florida. You're absolutely right. Again, we're
Right.
speaking with John Columbus. He's running for the U.S. Senate on the Republican ticket here in Florida. John, there's so many things that we need to talk about, and we're down to just a couple minutes. But one of the biggest issues here in Florida, of course, is our water issues. Where do you stand? I don't know, here locally in Martin County, we have a big concern with water discharges from Lake Okeechobee and runoff. That between the runoff and nitrogen and pollutants in the water, it's very devastating. What would you do on the U.S. Senate side? We just have a minute to help solve this issue.
Oh, absolutely. Protecting the environment and protecting, making sure that our water, which is key to living, is protected at the highest level. That is just hands down. Also, I just want to bring up I have this concept I wrote about in my book
Give us a
called
minute.
the Great Perception. 90 years ago, we were going through the Great Depression. Now we're going through the Great Perception. That is, we're faced with multimedia, news media, we're faced with social media, and the screens are taking over with clickbait. And I just want to encourage people to go out there and read books. Read as many books as you can, cover to cover, and maybe put your phone down every once in a while. And we can
Amen.
yes, that's my main issue. And please visit columbusforcongress.com. If you have any other questions, please feel free to donate. And I look forward to having more conversations with Florida people in the future.
Absolutely. John Columbus, I appreciate you joining us. It always goes way too quickly, but again, this is John Columbus. He's running for U.S. Senate on the Republican ticket. And your website again, one more time?
columbusforcongress.com.
columbusforcongress.com, and that'll give you a little bit more idea how to reach you and ask you more questions, support you, what have you. But we wish you well, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure, John. Take care now.